Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. My name is Saul Weinreb, and I am your host for this podcast. This is Isaiah 2c. This is the third and final podcast on the second chapter of Isaiah. In this portion, Isaiah continues to tell us how the beautiful vision of peace on earth, the vision of the people beating their swords into plowshares, but this will only come to pass when people overcome their arrogance and haughtiness and learn to be humble before God. Through humility, we will stop looking at idols, stop believing that we deserve to boast of our greatness and therefore oppress others, and begin to understand that all comes from God. Only then can we truly have compassion for the poor and seek justice for the widows and orphans. Only then will we fulfill the vision of beating our swords into plowshares and no war no more. In the future times, Isaiah tells us, Einei gavhut adam shafel v'shach rum anoshim v'niskav Adonai levado bayom hahu. This is verse 11. The haughty eyes of man will be brought down, and on that day of great peace, only God alone shall be exalted. Many of you may be familiar with the central role of this verse in the liturgy of the high holidays. V'niskav Adonai levado bayom hahu. Ki yom l'Adonai tzvaot al kol ge'ev aram v'al kol nisa v'shafel. For in front of God there will be a day that all that is proud and lofty and all that is high will be brought down. This verse reminds me so much of the passage in the Talmud in Tractate Bava Batra 10b, when one of the sages was asked, what did he see in his vision of the world to come? In his famous words, Olam hafuch ra'iti, I saw an upside down world, a world where the haughty were on the bottom and the lowly were lifted up. This is the prophecy of Isaiah right here. This is repeated in other parts of the book of Yeshayahu, including the source verse which the Talmud brings as support in Bava Batra from Yeshayahu 23, from Isaiah 23. Keneged zikenav kavod, that true honor is for the zikenim, for the humble. Yeshayahu continues, V'al kol arzei halvanon haramim v'hanisaim, v'al kol alonei abashan, v'al kol heharim haramim, v'al kol hagvaot hanisaot, v'al kol migdal gavoa, v'al kol choma v'tzura, v'al kol aniot tarshish, v'al kol tzichiot hachemda. All of those great trees and great mountains, and all of those big towers that people built, and the strong walls, and the great ships, and all of the beautiful images. V'shach gavut ha'adam, the loftiness of man shall be brought down. V'shafel rum anoshim, v'niskav Adonai levado bayom hahu. Again, the same reference. All of these great creations of mankind, these great walls and buildings and ships and wealth and military power, the people who made these things will be lowered and finally realize that the only true power is God, and only God will be exalted on that day. And on that day, v'ha'alilim kalil yachalov. Finally, those idols, the sorcerers, the magicians, the soothsayers, they will all pass away. Uva'u b'ma'arot surim v'v'mchilot afar mipnei pachad Adonai mehadar gono b'kumo la'arot ha'aretz. They will all have to go and hide from God in the caves of the rocks and the holes of the earth. People will finally throw these idols of silver, of wealth, of eselile zahavo, and the gold, and the money, and richness and wealth. All of those items of power, asher asu lo lishtachavos, that people made for themselves to bow down and worship. Lachbor Peirot v'lo leifim, they will become like dirt. They will be given to the moles and to the bats. Polavo b'nikros hatzurim uv'sifei aslem mipnei pachad Adonai mehadar gono b'kumo la'arot ha'aretz. They will go into the clefts of the rocks and in the caves. Isaiah then turns to the people and completes his message. and says as follows, please stop being afraid of mankind. How little is mankind in front of God. Remember the image. Isaiah is still talking to the people as they are surrounded by the Assyrian soldiers. And finally, after this entire message that Isaiah has spoken to the people, he says, now that you know, now that you understand the future, you understand your special role in this world, stop being afraid of people. They're only human beings. Stop being afraid of people. Stop worshiping people. Stop worshiping yourselves. Stop worshiping those that are oppressing you. Asher neshama bi'apo, they are just have breath in their nostrils. How little is he to be accounted? And for those that are aware of the end of the story, miraculously, overnight, the entire army of Assyria was miraculously defeated and they retreated back to Assyria. Why? Because how little is mankind anyway before God. Thank you so much for staying with us through the end of the second chapter. Looking forward to studying in the next podcast and starting chapter 3 of Isaiah.